Evening, Niner fans. How are we feeling tonight? We have two more nights to sleep and get past until the 49ers and the Eagles play. I'm supposed to have a guest today, the Eagles content creator, Kendall Beck. You guys might remember him last year when the 49ers and the Eagles played in the NFC Championship game on my Instagram page. We got in a big, heated um, argument, basically. We were on live for like 2 hours and we were just like yelling at each other, going at it. It was pretty intense. I remember that night. But we became pretty good friends after the time. And, I invited him on this week. Hopefully he's able to show up. That's what we were waiting for. So I gave him all the information. He's supposed to hop on. I want to chop it up with him and get his take going into this Eagles game on Sunday. So we'll see. It's nice to have perspective of another team's fan base. So we'll see. Hopefully he hops in. If not, we'll just do our regular thing, talk about the Niners and talk about, Eagles and everything. And then later today, obviously 7 o'clock p.m. Pacific, with my boy Bash from 49er Minded, we're going to do our prediction show. So I'm hyped up. I can't wait. I know everybody's ready to roll and, talk about the Eagles. I think everybody's hyper and just ready to get this game going on. But before we do, I want to kind of go over today's, injuries and this and that, because I just got home. I haven't had time to talk to y'all. So obviously today, Arik Armstead was at practice. That's a great sign. Probably going to play. He is listed as questionable, but he said himself that he's going to play on Sunday. So Arik Armstead, he's questionable, but I just think it's, precautionary thing. Jordan Mason has a hamstring injury, which he suffered in practice, and he's questionable. And wide receiver Ray McLeod, the kick returner, he's also questionable with a rib injury. So those are the injuries right now that the 49ers are dealing with. They're all questionable. They'll probably play, most of those guys. I mean, I think Arik Armstead is going to play. He said he will. Mason, he'll suit up, but I don't know if he's going to get much action. Elijah Mitchell and CMC are ahead of him. And then you got Ray McLeod. He's the return man. I'm sure he'll play. If he doesn't, we'll probably see a lot of Ronnie Bell. And then the Eagles, if we talk about the Eagles injuries, they're listing Fletcher Cox, defensive tackle, as questionable. He has a groin injury. That's kind of big for them. He missed last week's game. Questionable, though, so I'm pretty sure he'll play. Dallas Goedert, his forearm, he's been on the injured reserve list. He's doubtful, but they're saying he's probably not going to play this week. He might return next week against the Cowboys. So Dallas Goedert probably not going to play. And then Zach Cunningham, linebacker, is out. He's out for the game. So their big-time linebacker is going to be out. Zach Cunningham, this is all per Mike Garofalo. This was earlier today. That's a big injury. The fact that Zach Cunningham is out today, that's pretty actually, that's going to be a big injury because the 49ers, Christian McCaffrey, he leads the NFL in rushing yards, and he's a dog, and the 49ers run the football. Eagles might struggle in guarding and defending the run game. It might be a tough challenge for the Eagles in terms of, stopping the run game. And, they do have some other injuries. You got to remember, they're going to be missing some players. Again, Fletcher Cox might not play. Their secondary has been banged up, and, the 49ers are going to really want to attack. They're going to want to attack that secondary. So it's going to be an interesting game. Now, the 49ers, again, they're not too hurt. They're not banged up. They had 3 days extra rest. The Eagles they're playing on a week where they went into overtime against the Bills and, barely got that win. And the 49ers have a lot more rest. They're a little bit more healthy. Kind of concerned if you're an Eagles fan, right? But at the end of the day, the 49ers have to walk into the link and beat the mighty Eagles. So, my man Oscar Joe says CMC 3 touchdowns versus the Eagles. He might have a big game because they don't have their linebackers. Oscar Joe says we had no QB last year, so it's no excuse for them on injuries. Absolutely. Julia says Philly's linebacker is out. Absolutely. Christine says we are locked and loaded. Locked and loaded. We are. And, speaking of locked and loaded, I think this team in general is just locked and loaded. Like, we've heard all the talk. We've heard all of this, all of that. I just think that both of these teams know that what's at stake, and they want to do what's best for their team and go out there and lay it on the line. I'm really happy. I'm really excited to see AJ Brown and Deebo Samuel go out there. Their little friendly competition, the BFFs. Today, AJ Brown basically says, I don't think Deebo means any harm. He's just having fun. I don't think it's a shot at Bradbury. That's just how he talks. He's a big kid. So A.J. Brown kind of stuck up for Deebo Samuel. We know that they're boys. They're dogs. It's just friendly, jibber jabber between him and A.J. Brown this week. But he kind of had Deebo's back over Bradbury. Again, he just says that that's how Deebo is. He talks like a big kid, and he's just child. He's just playful like that. He just wants to kind of say what he got to say, and I like that for him. A.J. Brown, very respectful. One thing I got to say through this whole situation of the week leading up to this game is the fact that, A.J. Brown's very respectful. He's a real one. He never really said anything nasty. Again, he had the little, the fun comment, go and troll Debo, and Debo ripped back, oh, man, leave me alone, buddy. And then, they say, I love, So those two guys are really close, and they just want to go out there and be the best they can be. For them, it's their job, it's their livelihood. But after the game and everything, and after competition, they're good friends, and they just want to go out there and perform at the best that they can. So I think Debo's going to have a big game. I think A.J. Brown's going to want to have a big game. It's going to be a tough matchup. I really think that the more I've thought about this game, I kind of see just like the superstars are going to shine. The superstars are going to shine with this show, with this team. I feel like Kittle is just he's been really good this year, and this is a game where Kittle can explode. Their linebackers are 30th against the tight end, and they're missing a they're missing a linebacker, so they're going to be banged up. I think Kittle can go. I think Debo might have a big game because they know, all the talk that they've done. When Debo starts jibber jabbing and talking and this and that, he's going to want to prove himself, right? He's going to want to go out there and prove that he is that guy, so he can go and talk some more trash for another week. I think Debo's going to have a big game, and I really think that, Brandon Ayuk's going to have a big game. And I want to see Brandon Ayuk and Bradbury go toe-to-toe. I want to see Debo and Slay go toe-to-toe. Like, I want to see these guys go toe-to-toe against each other. Like, I want to see these cornerbacks and these wide receivers from the Niners and the Eagles just, like, go out there, strap it up, and let's see who's the best. You know what I mean? Because they've been talking the most out of everybody, and I need to see Debo go out there to handle his business. I need to see, Brandon Ayuk handle his business against the corners of Philadelphia. And then I need to see the corners of the Niners go and handle their business against the wide receivers for Philly. So it's going to be a hell of a matchup, man. Hell of a matchup. Super Bowl II. This is like, it kind of feels like a Super Bowl game, like maybe not Super Bowl, but a big playoff game. Like, the vibes on this game are incredible. I've already posted like 3 hype videos this week just because it's that type of game. When you start posting hype videos over a regular season game, it's serious. So I'm excited. Christine says they need to feed Kittle the ball. I agree. Kittle has been doing pretty damn good this season. Like, he's been killing it this year. It's one of Kittle's better years in terms of production, touchdowns, and everything. He's up there with all the other tight ends in terms of top 5 in stat category. So Kittle's balling. He's having a good year. Him and Brock Purdy are, a great duo. We know how much he loves to get him the ball in the red zone. He's had some big games where he scored 3 touchdowns. I think Kittle definitely is a guy that the 49ers have to get the ball to in this game. And I think we just touched it on it is, the 49ers, they know that the Philadelphia Eagles linebackers are weak against the tight ends. And not only that, again, they're going to be missing a tight end. So I think George Kittle has to have a big game in this one. So I agree with that, Christine. They need to feed Kittle the ball. I think he's prime for one of those big games. We haven't seen him have like a explosive game in the last 2 weeks, and I think this is the game. This is the game that Kittle goes and explodes this week. Carl Thomas, good question. He says, I meant to ask, is Armstead and McLeod playing Sunday? So we talked about them at the top. Armstead, he's questionable with the foot, but he said he's playing. He told the media yesterday that he's playing. So he was in practice today, so that's a great sign. Ray McLeod, he is questionable with the rib, but all signs are looking like he's going to play. I think all their injured players are just precautionary, and they're going to play. It's nothing serious. It's a rib, a little sprain, probably most likely for Ray. He's going to play. Arik Armstead's going to play. And Jordan Mason, he has a hamstring. That's the one injury where I don't know if the player's going to play because the hamstring's kind of a tough injury. So Victor says revenge time. And Debo and Trent are going to be scary as F. You know what, man? I'm so ready to see Debo and Trent get at this game. The energy they're going to have is going to be bigger than everybody. It's going to be, oh, my God, man. I think the energy, I think the energy those two guys are just going to be insane. You remember last year how, Trent Williams at the end of that game, he throws the Philadelphia guy, just was pissed off. And it was Wallace, I think, right? It was Wallace, and they got in a little scuffle, and he just picked his ass up and threw him. Like, Trent probably still remembers all the animosity and all the hatred he had in his heart that night. And I think he's just going to bring out so much ruthless aggression on this game on Sunday. God, man, I'm so hyped about this. I'm so hyped about this. I just cannot wait to see what's going to happen on Sunday. This is the game of the year for us right now. And this is, again, we talked about this the other day. It's like a measuring stick game. Teams are going to really, these two teams are really going to figure out where they are with, the rest of the season going, and where they kind of stand. How good can they be? These are the best two teams in the NFC, and we're going to see an absolute cinematic masterpiece, and we're going to really see some quality football. I'm pretty sure of, and we really get to see who's made of what. And Brock Purdy, again, a game where he can really step up out of the shadows of the MVP race, because people aren't giving him his credit. But I feel like Brock Purdy can really put his name out there and really etch himself into that MVP race. Jalen Hurts can do the same thing. Like Jalen Hurts right now, he's probably atop that MVP board right now in the NFC, if you really want to be real about it. And now Brock Purdy can step in if he can go out there and slay the Eagles up and get a dub in the league. You have to mention his name into the MVP talk. So it's a big game for Brock, man. A big game. And it's crazy to think. And like, this is what you got to really think about with Brock Purdy. He's in his second year, ladies and gentlemen. He's only 23 years old. He's only been in the league for really a year and a half, because last year he played half a season. And this year, he's playing this year, and it's crazy, man. And he had the injury, but he's came back like better than ever. You just can't imagine someone to come back like that and play at such a great level after an injury that he had. It's an injury that really is very rare in the NFL, especially among quarterbacks. But it's an injury that he's been able to bounce back and really play just such quality football. It's like the best quarterback we've seen on the 49ers in so many years. So Brock Purdy, man, when you really think about it, he's a damn 23-year-old second-year player in the league, and he's doing what he's doing. I don't care how many players he has around him, all the good players, this and that. That's football, man. You want to have good players around your team. You're supposed to have good players around you. Like, if you have shitty players around your team, how are you supposed to win? Like, that whole, the whole conversation of, oh, well, it's the system. Oh, he has great players and blah, 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 blah. So what? He's supposed to have good players around. You want him to be surrounded by mid talent. Look what happened with every other team that has no talent around their quarterback. They can't develop. They can't do good. It's like, remember the 49ers were a bad team. They had no talent. Like Alex Smith had no talent. He had 80 offensive coordinators, right? There were, like, you look at the rosters of the 49ers before they started to get good again. The receivers were so bad. Lewis Murphy, some of these guys were just so pathetic. So pathetic. You need to have good talent. Like, I can't understand when the media says, well, he has so many good players around. I hope he does. That's what a good team is. A good team is a squad full of good players. Hello. Man, that's my soapbox. I had to get that off my chest. Christine says this game isn't just any Sunday. It's not. This is a big game. This is a big game. This is a playoff implication game. Like, this game probably decides the number one seed in terms of, if the 49ers don't beat Philadelphia, there's ain't no way they're catching the Philadelphia Eagles for the number one seed. Absolutely not. This is a big game with seed implications in it. So my man Ethan says, the crazy thing is when we lose, it's because of Brock. But when we win, it's because of everyone but Brock. They don't want to give this man his credit. Give Brock Purdy his flowers. They want to do everything but hand him his flowers. You're absolutely right, Ethan. Crazy. My man Blood Moon, shout out to the chat real quick. He says, I wish Anquan Bolden would come back to be the wide receiver coach. Yo, that's cool, man. I love Anquan. By the way, shout out to Anquan Bolden. He is a semifinalist for the Hall of Fame, right? 25 Hall of Fame semifinalists. They've cut it down to 25 this year. And we got 3 Niners. We got Ricky Waters, we got Anquan Bolden, and Patrick Willis. I hope all 3 of them get in there. I really hope that Patrick Willis gets in. He deserves it, man. Phenomenal. We all love Patrick Willis. He was one of the best linebackers the last 2 decades. Anquan Bolden was an absolute monster as a wide receiver for the Niners, for the Ravens, for the Cardinals. Every team he played for, that this guy was just pure, like awesome. He had great hands. He was a physical receiver. He was like Debo Samuel before Debo, right? He was kind of like the Debo receiver. He was just physical. He can get the yards after catch. He was a good route runner. He was just thick, and pause. He's a thick receiver that was hard to take down. Very physical. I loved Anquan Bolden, man. Such a dog, and he was a fun guy to have on the Niners. I love that guy. He was a beast. So hopefully he gets on to the Pro Bowl, and he was a good guy off the field too. But yeah, enough about the Hall of Fame guys. We can sit here and talk about them all day. It's always cool to reminisce on the old players. But how are you guys doing? How's the chat doing, ladies and gentlemen? How are we feeling? We got 2 days left until game day. 2 sleeps left. How are you guys doing? Are you guys good? It's Friday. Happy Friday to everybody. Shout out to the chat. I want to take a minute just to say thank you guys for all the support. The YouTube's finally growing a little bit, the way we need it to grow, but definitely could grow more. But I try to give as much time as I can to the channel. Busy guy, but I appreciate the support on the YouTube. Actually, I appreciate the support on all my platforms, but I really, really have really tried to put in a lot of work on this YouTube channel. And it's not always easy coming here talking after a long day of work, but I truly appreciate you guys. So thank you. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. My man Julius Calloway says, "Who do you got between Washington and Oregon?" It's a good game. I'm going to take Oregon for this one, though. Let's a couple questions here. Raymond Ibarra, what's up, man? He says, the only thing I'm worried about is Philly's D-line. Philly's D-line is nasty. Let's be honest there. Their D-line against the 49ers O-line, that is definitely one of the marquee matchups. We've talked about it all week, is who's going to win the trenches, right? 49ers O-line has played pretty good over the last couple of weeks. Trent Williams, we know how much of a dog he is. Aaron Banks, man, that guy's such a gem. I'm so glad we drafted him. It's crazy. 2 years ago, I was sitting here cussing, throwing stuff at the TV, going, "Oh, I can't believe we drafted this Aaron Banks. We could have got Asante Samuel Jr., blah, blah." And now I'm so happy that they got Aaron Banks. And Feliciano has been so good on that right side and just in general. It's a big battle for those guys. So absolutely, I agree with you, Raven, that the defensive line is going to be a problem for the 49ers. And the defensive line for the 49ers is going to give them a problem. So it's a battle of the trenches. Whose defensive line is going to cause more havoc? That's what's probably going to determine the game. So a couple more questions here. Says, this game of all games reminds me of the Warriors going to battle. We'll see who wins this battle. Hopefully the Niners. Yeah, hopefully the Niners do. This is a game of all games. This is a big game. One of the better games of the season. Like if you looked at all the games that were presented when the season came out, this was one of the top games that you're like, man, I can't wait for this game. No matter if you're a Niner fan, Eagle fan, or just a football fan in general. Like this was one of the games that I'm sure most football fans circled on their calendar of, man, I can't wait to see this game. There's been a very few. This is one of the top 5 games of the year, honestly. Let's see if it lives up to the hype. I hope it does. Sometimes these type of games don't always live up to the hype. I think this one might. Like last night's game, shout out to Dallas and Seattle. That was a fun-ass game. That's how I want this game to be. And I hope the Niners win because I'll be stressed out, but I'm going to be stressed either way. I hope we get a fun game. I hope this game lives up to the hype. You know what I mean? Christine, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. You're always in the chat, always a real. All you guys are in the chat, and you're always so supportive of the page. But it does mean a lot. So thank you, Christine. Ted says it's the rain for me. Yeah, it might rain this weekend. There are reports that it's supposed to possibly, maybe, kind of, sort of, hopefully, probably does it. We don't know. There are reports that it could rain this weekend. I don't know. I'm a little worried about the rain too, because every time I watch a 49ers game and it rains, I usually end up after the game really pissed off. So I hope that's not the case this week. What do you guys think? You guys worried about the rain? You think the 49ers can handle it if it does rain? I'm scared. I'm worried. The Eagles are more, conditioned to playing in the rain. You know what I mean? Like the Niners just aren't. They're a West Coast team. It doesn't rain much out here, too many days. Philadelphia, East Coast, it's like colder weather, climate. It rains a lot more. It's just part of their, their culture out there, their climate. I'm not liking that. I'm not feeling it. It's definitely an advantage for the Eagles, I think, if it rains. And RF says, is it going to rain? So yeah, we don't know if 100% it's going to rain, but there are chances that it's going to rain. So let me take a look at the Handy Dandy weather app. Let's take a look at the updates. Let's get a weather update, shall we? So let's see. I will look at the weather app, and we're going to look for Philadelphia. So Sunday. I'm so sick right now because the last week when we checked the updates, ladies and gentlemen, last week when we checked the updates, it said it was going to rain Monday. Okay. Oh, breaking news, ladies. Go breaking news. I might need to put a template out there and break the news to everybody. Sunday, a 90% chance of rain in Philadelphia. I'm, I'm done. I'm done. Stick it. I'm unbelievable. 90% chance it's going to rain. I can't take it. I can't. No. Fucking pissed. I need to throw something. I had to throw something. I'm pissed off. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It said it wasn't going to rain the other day. It was going to rain Monday. Now it says it's 90% chance of rain on Sunday. I'm sick to my stomach. 10% chance that it's not going to rain. That's it. I'm done. I'm pissed. Only 75% chat at rain time at game time. The weather app lied to us, depressed Niners fan. I am now a depressed Niners fan. Shades, my boy says he says 75% at game time. 75 is not good odds either. That's not good odds for me either. Peter Park says rain, snow, we don't give a fuck. Take Pepto, my boy. I'm gonna have to. Oh my god. Ethan says we can't use that as an excuse. I talk too much shit. We just gotta hope for the best. You know what? Big City Man says it's okay. Raj Purdy said he would wear a glove, so it's good. He better wear that glove. The Michael Jackson sequence. He gotta wear that glove, man, because I don't need him, fumbling the ball, losing grip of the ball. I need him to have great grip to throw that ball. I'm a little stressed out now. I'm not gonna lie to you. The rain has changed my perspective on the game. I still think the Niners are gonna win, but it's gonna be a gritty. It's gonna be a low scoring game, a muddy. I don't know how much it's gonna rain, but I don't like that. I don't like that. Yeah, my man J49 says Kyle needs to press on the gas pedal all 4 quarters. You're absolutely right. The 49ers have to keep the pedal on the metal. Aggressive, aggressive, aggressive. Don't play just to not lose the game. Put your foot on their throat and push it, because you cannot let Philadelphia hang around in this game. If you let Philadelphia hang around this game, bad things are gonna happen. Bad things are gonna happen. You cannot let them hang around. My boy, Peter Parker just liked that. He liked the little Michael Jackson. We had to throw it in there. We're on a roll tonight, baby. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling good, man. I'm feeling so good about this game on Sunday. I'm just juiced up, man. Raymond says it'll be a close game. We have to score 6. I don't trust Moody. Got to score touchdowns. You cannot hang field goals on the board. You can't take risks. You got to put the ball in the end zone. I agree with you, Raymond. Although I did say yesterday on a stream that I think it comes down to a game-winning field goal. Like, I feel like it's going to be one of those games where it's coming down to a game-winning field goal. My man, depressed Niner fan says, I know Jake Elliott's going to kick a 61-yarder in the rain. God, man. God, dog. That guy can kick it from fucking my house into that stadium and make it. That's a far ass. That guy's got a leg. So if it comes down to a Jake Elliott situation field goal, I pray that he doesn't hit it. But yeah, he's a dog, man. And if it comes down to Moody, I want to make sure we support him, give him that positive energy, and hopefully he can make it. Because this is the thing, Jake Moody can redeem himself so big in a clutch money situation. If Jake Moody comes down and hits a game-winning field goal against the Philadelphia Eagles in the Link, do you know how many people are going to glaze him up this week, including myself? I'm going to be his biggest hype man. I mean, there's going to be so much Jake Moody posts if he hits a game winner in the link, I'll tell you what, man, everybody will take back all the negative stuff they said. They're going to eat crow. It's going to be a Jake Moody hype fest. I hope he gets it because that's the confidence he needs. And that's what I want him to do. I hope if it does come down to that situation, Jake Moody drills that shit because that's the type of stuff that's going to build his confidence, man. You want to talk about clutch and becoming a big name kicker, you have to hit stuff like that. You have to get that. And this is a money situation. You know, he missed it a couple weeks ago. It's unfortunate. We lost the game, but hey, man, you get more chances in your career and you get more chances in the game of football. And he's going to have to right the ship. And if he can make a clutch money kick in the link, that's as big as it gets, unless it's in the Super Bowl or playoffs. So this could be the biggest kick of his career if it gets down to that point. And again, I hope if it does get down to that point, I want to see him nail it, man. Regardless, I'm still gonna be stressed. Even if someone told me ahead of time, someone walked up to me from the future and say, "Hey, Raj, look, this is what's gonna happen. Jake Moody's gonna kick a 65-yard field goal to win the game in Philly." 65 yards is crazy. I know I'm a little crazy. 65-yard field goal to win a game. I'd be like, "Are you for sure? Are you real?" He's like, "Look, I got the Gray Sports Almanac. It's right here. Jake Moody hits the field goal, wins the game. Go put some money on the Niners, right? Go put some money on the Niners," and I would do it. I still would be stressing because I wouldn't trust that man from the future, but I still would give him his flowers if he hits it. So, oh man, I'm hyped up for this game. I want to see Jake Moody hit that now more than ever, more than ever. But again, even if I knew he was going to make it, I would be stressed out to the max. But yeah, man, Sunday can't come soon enough, ladies and gentlemen. All the trash talk, like the trash talk wasn't just this week. It's been leading up, bubbling over since that game. Like we saw, Kittle after the game, he was pissed off. He goes, how do you think it feels to play without your quarterback? And then Debo calling Bradbury trash, and then Hassan Reddick, and he said the game circled on the calendar, and Debo doubled down, and it's just been going for months and months and months. At this point, the talk is over. Talk is cheap. They just got to lace it up and play football on Sunday. I think that's it. Bottom line. Bottom line. Bottom line. They just got to go out there and play the football game on Sunday. That's it. No more talk. Talk is over. None of that. No more. Everybody said what they had to say about this game. Both teams, no more talking. No more talking. It's it. It's time to strap it up, ladies and gentlemen. Time to strap it up. My man Peter Parker says we need this game. Road to the Super Bowl has to go through Levi's. And that's the big takeaway for me is, the 49ers have to get this dub. And not just because we want it as a revenge factor. Obviously, we all want to see the 49ers beat Philadelphia because we're so sick and tired of Philly. We're so sick and tired of their fans. We're so sick and tired of their fucking punchable coach, Nick Sirianni. Like, the 49ers, not only do they need to win this just for the sake of revenge and just to get that win, but they need this win because you're absolutely right, Peter Parker. The 49ers, if they want to have the number one seed in the playoffs, which is the best route to the Super Bowl, has to start with this Sunday. They got to beat the Eagles, and they got to hope that the Cowboys or some other team can beat the Eagles. And the 49ers have to still take care of business. It's not just, the 49ers beat the Eagles, they're number one seed. They still got to handle their business. So the 49ers, at the end of the day, can't worry about any other team beating any other team. They got to win the games that they play, and it starts Sunday. You beat the Eagles, that's one step closer to getting the number one seed. You can't lose against the Ravens. You can't lose to Seattle. You can't lose any of these games the rest of the way. You got to win out, and if you do, you deserve that number one seed, which you probably get if Philadelphia loses another game. That's what needs to happen because a road to the Super Bowl is more viable through Levi's Stadium. Now, I'm not saying that they can't make it to the Super Bowl if they don't have the number one seed, but it's a lot easier. We've seen what happened over the last couple of years. They get down to the NFC Championship game, and they just run out of steam because traveling really whoops them up. Absolutely. My man, California man, he's nervous. We're all nervous. I think we're all nervous. Shade says, did I know Mooney Ward and Ambry both practice Islam? Yeah, I've seen some stuff on their social media, on their posts and stuff. Respect to those two. Those two guys, let's talk about Ambry and Mooney Ward. Those are two guys that have to have a big game this Sunday. This Sunday, Ambry has to lock up Smith. Mooney Ward has to clamp up A.J. Brown. We saw what Mooney Ward did to DK Metcalf. DK Metcalf went off last night. By the way, Yo, shout out to DK. He went off, and shout out to Mooney Ward, because Mooney Ward cooked that man, put him in a blender, souffled him. He put the clamps on DK. He is DK's daddy. And that was an impressive performance by Mooney Ward. And that's what he needs to do to A.J. Brown. He needs to be the clamp daddy, Master Mac on A.J. Brown on Sunday against the Eagles. Bottom line, big game for those two guys. Ambry Thomas and Mooney Ward have to have a massive game. Absolutely. Absolutely. Raymond, so have you heard Fred's wife's story about Philly? Yeah, I remember this last year. She posted it. She was on her social media, and she talked about how nasty the Philadelphia fans were to her and how they treated her poorly. I heard a lot of stories like this, but of course hers were viral because, she's a big influencer and Fred Warner's wife, all that. And yeah, she talked about how, the Philly fans were just nasty, just grotesque, toxic. And that's not the only person I've heard to say that. So many people that I know that went to that game said the same thing. I mean, Bonta Hill, many, many, many content creators that were at the game said, hey, man, they were talking nasty. I mean, you see the videos that are posted on social media, like the little 7-year-old boy flipping off the Buffalo guy. Last year, Joey Bosa was at the game supporting Nick, and some random fan just started cussing at him and talking trash. Like, to Joey Bosa, man, an NFL star, you go up to this guy and you have no respect towards him, and you just cuss him out. These guys are nasty, man. Nasty. My man, depressed Niners fan says, what if the game ends in a tie? Do you know how sick I'd be? Do you know how sick? I mean, the content would be crazy. Every fan on both fan bases would be so pissed off. Be pissed off to the max, man. Robert Savage says, how many sacks do you think the Niners are getting? Whew, that's a great question because, we talked about the battle in this game is going to be the battle in the trenches, right? The battle of the trenches is going to dictate this game. Can the 49ers offensive line, stop the Eagles? And can the 49ers defensive line get through the offensive line of the Eagles? And that's not an easy task. They have not probably. The Eagles have the best offensive line. I'm going to be 100 with you. I'm not going to sit there and say, well, Eagles offensive line is the best in the NFL. I can call it a fact, man, and don't even have to be a Niner Eagles fan. Just not a hate. It's true. Eagles have a great offensive line. They're good. And I think the 49ers, in order to beat them, they have to get through that. They have to put pressure on Hurts. They got to contain him. We all talked about how Fred Warner has to spy him, Jalen Hurts. But the key is Chase Young. He knows how to play this team. He's had experience, and Hargrave. He knows how to play this team. He played on the team. It just, those two guys are going to be X factors. And Nick Bosa, he has to be able to be Nick Bosa, and with Chase Young, he has. Arik Armstead, he's phenomenal. He's been playing so good the last couple of weeks. He is dealing with the toe injury, so I don't know how much it's going to impact him. I hope nothing. I hope he just throws some lidocaine on that and juices it up and let's go on Sunday and lets the adrenaline take over him. But I do think this defensive line is going to rack up maybe 3 sacks. Again, 3 is tough. That's a lot on this offensive line. You got to give those guys credit. I think that the 49ers are going to get 3 sacks on Jalen Hurts. So that's my take on it. It's going to be a good game, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, Chief Kamachi, he said, let's talk about the rain. 90%. You missed it. I don't know if you were here a few minutes ago. We were talking about the rain. I almost had to quit the live when I found that out. 90% chance of rain. I'm not happy, man. Not happy about that. But hey, at the end of the day, you got to play with what the weather gives you. And that's another reason why the 49ers have to win this game, because if they can somehow get the number 1 seed and play these playoff games in Levi Stadium, it makes all the difference. Because in January, if you got to go to the link in rainy game, it's not what you want. Not what you want. Chief says Purdy needs to put the gloves on. He did say he will. He wearing those gloves, man. Yeah, he said he's putting those gloves on, baby. My man, Kenny says Trent Williams will have a big game. Oh, definitely. Trent Williams is bringing Trent Williams is bringing every ounce of intensity this week. Absolutely. I agree with you. That's a good question, though, Robert, because that really dictates the game. It's the battle of the trenches. Whoever wins that battle is going to win that game, because if you can get to the quarterback, you're going to force him to be uncomfortable. and you're going to force that quarterback to make mistakes, throw interceptions, fumble the ball. That's what needs to happen. And if the 49ers can get to Jalen Hurts, make him uncomfortable, that's ball game. So, unbelievable. Trent Williams will be posting that reel to get you up. Richard says, let's stop making a big deal about the rain. They're only supposed to get a half an inch. But that does make a big difference because it makes the field a little bit more slick. Sometimes it causes the ball to get a little wet. It does have an impact. Even if it's just a small amount of rain, that does have an impact on the way that the game's played. You just, hopefully, like you said, it's not a big downpour. Like if it's a huge downpour, that's when you start worrying. But you still got to factor that in. And if he has to wear gloves, Brock Purdy, is he going to be able to throw the same with the gloves because your grip's going to be a little different? Like there are small little nuances that you can discredit. You can't sit there and say, oh, it doesn't matter. It does matter, in my opinion. But Christine says, I'm praying that Big Trent doesn't get thrown out of the game. He's got to have to temper his emotions, but he always plays tough. I don't think he's going to get thrown out, but they're going to try to make him pissed. Like, this is one thing I know. The Eagles are going to try to piss off Trent. They're going to try to piss off Debo. They're going to try to get under their skin. And I think the Niners are going to do the same to them. So, again, it's going to be a fun battle, man, and we'll see what happens. But, I was waiting for my boy Kendall Beck. He didn't show up. Hopefully he can still come on. Still want to have him on the show. I'm not sure. He did say give him 15 minutes. Perfect. Okay. One second. Let me talk to this, my man. Okay, he said he'll be on shortly, so we'll stall and we're gonna wait for my boy Kendall. Kendall, I'm excited to talk to him about this because he's an Eagles fan, and I want to get his perspective on everything we talked about. So, Salvador, let's talk about this. So, yeah, we talked about this the other night. He did. So, the question from Salvador is, did you hear about Kyle's pettiness and not wanting to use a wet ball? Yeah, we talked about. I didn't like this. I thought it was kind of a bad decision. That's just me. What do I know? Kyle Shanahan's the head coach. He knows his team better. He knows how to prepare him. But I did think that was kind of like, maybe you should let them use a wet ball. You know what I mean? Like, maybe you should let them use a wet ball. To practice. I don't know. I just think just being, a physical therapist and knowing that when I'm training people and getting them set for whatever they do, like I like to make sure they practice every aspect of what they're going to have to do. Like if they're in the facility and I'm like, hey, let's do a car transfer because you're going home next week. I want to make sure you can get in and out of the car. Even if they know they can do it, I just like to make sure like they'll have their family, we'll do a car transfer. I just want to make sure that you're mentally prepared for any scenario. Even if the scenario doesn't happen, even if the 49ers don't have any rain on Monday or on Sunday, I still would like that mentally. For me, it just gives me a sense of security. But that's just me. Yeah, Richard says, Kyle literally said he has not changed anything in practice due to the conditions to Philadelphia. And he said the ball is always wet due to sweat, have to love. I mean, yeah, you're going to be sweating, but that's not the same as like water on the. That's just me. Kyle's Kyle, man. Kyle's Kyle. Hold on a second. This is a good point from Shades. He says, Ayuk had 3 big drops in Cleveland in the rain. I'm worried about him. You know what? That was something we talked about a few weeks ago after the bye. I said, hey, look, Brandon Ayuk has to step up in the second half. He had a lot of drops. Well, not a lot. He did have some drops this season early on. He wasn't making those big clutch money catches. And I said after the bye, this is the point where Brandon Ayuk has to step up and earn that money. He has to earn the money and score touchdowns, and he has. I think Brandon Ayuk has really stepped up his game, and I think he will have a big game. Like, that's the guy I'm not too worried about because he has elevated his game just like I thought he would, That's a guy that I'm not too worried because before the bye week, that was the guy that I said, hey, look, Brandon Ayuk's got to stop dropping balls, and he hasn't been dropping them this last couple weeks since the Niners got back on a win streak. So if you would have asked me that if you would have said that a couple weeks ago, I would have said, yeah, you know what? He does need to stop dropping balls. But I think Brandon Ayuk's really improved his focus, and he knows this is the last stretch of the season. December football is when the dogs come out, and he has to play good because if he wants to get paid the max amount of money that he wants, he's got to make these catches. He's got to score the football, get touchdowns. So that's a good top. That's a good point though, Shades, because you're absolutely right. He was dropping the ball in that Cleveland game. He made some monster drops. So good point. Good point. Victor says, "Do you think we could get a pick from Hurts this game?" I believe that we do. Yeah, I think that the 49ers are going to get a pick. I think Jalen Hurts, he's prone to throwing interceptions. It's not like he hasn't thrown any. He's thrown quite a bit this year, actually. 11 picks this year. So I think the 49ers could get to him. I think they will get to him, and I think they will cause a turnover. Jalen Hurts is no stranger to throwing interceptions. I think Fred Warner has a good chance of getting an interception because I think he's going to be all over the game. I think he's going to be, containing Jalen Hurts all night. So I definitely think that that he's going to throw a pick. Jalen Hurts. I do. I think Jalen Hurts will throw a pick. At least one. He's good for at least one. So he's not free from mistakes, man. He's made a lot of mistakes this season. And honestly, I think the Eagles have been a little worse this year than they were last year, which is it's crazy. They're a 10-1 team, but they have been not as good this year as they were last year. But it's not like saying, "Oh my God, they're terrible." But they have lost some players. They don't seem as crisp sometimes in certain aspects. Their secondary is pretty shaky. But they're still a 10-1 team. They're still good. You don't want to let them hang around. Jalen Hurts is still phenomenal. AJ Brown and everybody still good. But I just don't think they're as dominant as they were last year because they were blowing out teams left and right last year. But yeah, Jalen Hurts is definitely prone to mistakes. What's up, 49er Fever? Appreciate the super. He says, "What's up, Raj? I'm pumped for Sunday. Bang, bang, Niner gang." Appreciate you, man. Thanks for the super. Appreciate everybody that, drops some badges and super chats in the lives every time as we get closer to Sunday. I'm, always hyped up for the game, and I know you guys are, and I can't wait, man. I'm so, so, so excited. Like, this is the game of the year. We've been waiting for this rematch for months, man, for months. And I just think that it's going to live up to the hype. And again, I think we all want to see the 49ers win. The excitement's at an all-time. Like, I just couldn't wait until Sunday. Like all week, the moment I woke up on Friday and I knew it's already Eagles week pretty much because, we beat the Seahawks and everything. My mind was like, dude, I cannot wait for freaking Philadelphia. I can't wait. So appreciate the badge, man. But yeah, we are all so juiced, so hyped up, man. It's going to be a good week. It's going to be a good week. Victor says Brock's about to show everyone why we hype him up. I think so, and again, we've talked about Brock Purdy a lot in the offseason. Debo and everybody, all the Niner players kept saying, "Hey, look, it's a different situation when your starting quarterback is playing in the game." And this is the game that Brock has to show, like, hey, yeah, the 49ers definitely missed me last week. It was a whole different game, or last year. It's a different game with the 49ers with Brock Purdy. And I think that Brock's going to really show up, and he's going to show everybody that, yeah, I'm that guy. I'm that guy. So I agree, Victor. Christine, yep, we're excited. Rashad says the rain at 4 a.m. Sunday, at 4 a.m. Philadelphia. It'll be clear by 1 o'clock. It makes me feel a little better. What's good, Lo Jackson? How we doing? Richard says, in my opinion, I believe the weakness of the Eagles lies in their linebacker position and the secondary. The 49ers have a huge advantage. They rank 31 in passing touchdowns allowed. Yeah, so that definitely is a huge talking point for the Eagles. They're out a linebacker. One of their best linebackers is out for the week. And, the fact of the matter is they haven't been good at guarding the tight ends. And their linebackers are the weak spot. You're absolutely right. So if we want to talk about, we've talked about secondary being an issue, but their linebackers and the fact that Zach Cunningham's out, that is huge. And that's what I said at the top of the show is, hey, look, linebackers for the Eagles are out, and the 49ers have Christian McCaffrey. I think Christian McCaffrey is primed to have like this monster game in terms of running the ball. And again, George Kittle, we said it earlier tonight, George Kittle is primed to have this monster game. Give credit where credit is due, but call it what it is, my brother. Facts are facts. Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. Both teams, if you really look at it, are so like it's down to the wire. It's like razor thin the differences between these teams. There was a stat I saw yesterday. It just showed how close these two teams are. I want to pull this stat up. So let me see. Do I have it? Oh man, let me see if I have it still. I don't know where I found it. I know it was on my page, I think. I don't know where it is. But it just showed how close these two teams were. And it was like razor thin. Like these two teams, obviously the class of the NFC, I don't think any team in the NFC is better than these two teams. These are the best two teams, powerhouses. And I think they're on a collision course to play in the NFC Championship. This is the appetizer, right? This is the appetizer. The main course is probably coming in January. So Raymond says, yeah, their linebackers are weak. They're trying to pursue Shaq Leonard. Yeah, they're definitely trying to get him. And the Eagles, if they need to make a move, they'll make a move. They got Kevin Byard a couple of weeks ago because their safety position was not great. They had some issues there. And the next morning, they cut their safety and they made a move for Byard. So the Eagles, if they need to make an improvement on a team, they will do it like as soon as they need to do it. And that's it. If the 49ers come into the link and impose their will and run all over them and Kittle goes crazy, I guarantee you Monday morning they sign Shaq Leonard. I promise you that's what's going to happen. I promise you they'll do that. My man S. DeYoung says best two teams in the NFL. Absolutely. Christine says the refs are horrible. Man, I just hope it doesn't come down to a bad call. I really hope it doesn't come down to a bad call. Yeah. It would be nice to see our defense get a touchdown this game. Oof, that would be nice to get a touchdown in this game from the defense. If the 49ers get a defensive touchdown, oh, man, that would probably be such a momentum shifter. Man, imagine Fred Warner running it in, touchdown, pick six. That'd be crazy. Oh, man. Sentinel Football Channel says it's up, and the Eagles are like the top tier of the NFC. The next tier below is the Seahawks and the Cowboys, and then the next tier is the Lions. Honestly, I think the Lions are above the Seahawks. I got the Niners and the Eagles, obviously top tier. The Cowboys are right under them. They finally beat a team with a winning record. Well, they did have a winning record, the Seahawks. Seahawks to me, I'm not worried about them. Niners dominated them. They just, Geno Smith, he's banged up. He's trying to do what he can, but he's not elite. He had a good for him last year. That defense was just stressed against the Niners. I definitely think that the Seahawks are below the Cowboys. I think the Lions are maybe tier two. Lions and the Cowboys, probably that second tier in the NFC. You got 49ers, Eagles, Lions, Cowboys. And after that, maybe Seattle, but I don't even think Seattle might make the playoffs. They got a tough schedule to finish out. They're 6-6. Seattle might not make the playoffs. It might not make the playoffs. A Sentinel Football Channel says, I want to see one pick six and at least a fumble recovery for a touchdown. That'd be fun. Would you? Woo, that would be hype, bro. That would be so dope to see. I just want to see the Niners win, but if they get like a Fred Warner touchdown, that better put that man in the Defensive Player of the Year talk, in the race. In my mind, obviously, in Niner fans, we know how good Fred Warner is to this defense, and they're one of the top defenses in the NFL. If Fred Warner was taken away from this team, they wouldn't have the amount of wins. They wouldn't be as good as they were. So in my eyes, he's definitely a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. But if he has a game like this, again, an MVP moment, what did I say for Brock Purdy? If Brock Purdy goes out there and has this monumental game, you got to put him in the MVP candidate, talk. If Fred Warner goes out and has a phenomenal game, you have to put him in the Defensive Player of the Year talk. You have to do it. And I get it. It's a edge rusher award nowadays. You got Max Crosby, you got Myles Garrett, TJ Watt. Those guys are phenomenal. Micah Parsons, those guys are great. No disrespect to them. But if Fred Warner goes out and he's the reason the 49ers win this game, put him in that Defensive Player of the Year category because he's been the reason why the 49ers won a lot of games. And he's the leader of this defense. So Low Jackson says, if we handle our business like we're supposed to, the refs will be a non-factor. That's a great point, too. If the 49ers go out there and they win and they play the game they can play and they don't let the Eagles hang around and they crush them, guess what? Don't matter what the refs are going to do because the 49ers can handle them. But I do think sometimes a game can quickly turn around like that on one bad call. If it's a close game, one call can shift the tide of a game. So I just hope it's not one of those type of games. You know what I mean? But I do agree with you. If the 49ers stand and handle their business and play the game they could play and don't make mistakes and they just dominate in the trenches, they should be able to win this game. They should be able to win this game. I'm going to take a 30-second break. I'm going to check and make sure my guest is coming. We'll see. I'm going to be right back. We're going to pause. I'm going to put a little countdown. I'll be right back. All right. Just messaged him. He said he should be coming, man. This guy fashionably late. I might have to flame him when he hops into the chat because he's making your boy wait. I got another show hopping in shortly in about 20 minutes. So let's see what happens here. Let me get to some of your questions. Let's take a look and see what you guys have. Sentinel Football says is what Shanahan has to do, in my opinion, is run up the score. Every chance you get, run up the score. We knew the Eagles are a come-from-behind team. We just need to put the pedal to the metal. Yeah, we mentioned that earlier, that 49ers have to play aggressive. You cannot let the Eagles hang around. You can't play the game like you're just trying not to lose. The 49ers have the lead. You need to keep building to that lead. I agree. The Eagles are a team that you cannot let hang around. Can't let them hang around. You can't do it. You can't do it, or you're going to lose. Salvador says, worried the 49ers give anything over the top and deep since our safeties aren't the fastest. Yeah, both teams secondary susceptible to a big pass, but Jalen Hurts, man, he sometimes can dial up those big-time plays. We saw it last week when he played the Bills. I mean, just deep shot, touchdown pass, and he's done that. He has a pretty good arm, and the 49ers cannot get into a position where they let Jalen throw those deep passes, and you're right. Jair Brown has to have a big game. He's a young buck. He's still learning the game. Tashawn Gibson, a very good underrated safety, but he doesn't have the speed. So let's hope that they don't throw Devonta Smith out there and just let him fly and rip a big one. Says that might be a backbreaking type play. Devonta's a great player. Hopefully they can hold him up, and I think if the 49ers can play aggressive, play that man and stay sticky with them, it's going to eliminate some of those big passes. But, sometimes you have those big, physical type defensive matchups where the 49ers want to do, you can get called for penalties. So they got to be careful, and let's hope that they stay away from the penalties because you're right. That's going to be a big part of this game. So Eric says, coach has to be better in the red zone. Yeah, you're 100% right. You can't settle for field goals. You got to get touchdowns. Absolutely, Eric. I 100% agree. Chris says, Niners can win in two ways. CMC goes for 100 yards, and the Niners win the turnover battle against Hurts, who has like 10 turnovers. But who am I kidding? Eagles are just too elite. They're a good team, man, but you're absolutely right. Run the ball, control the clock, make turnovers happen. Make Jalen Hurts throw picks. I will be right back. I got my daughter at the door. I will be right back. All right, we're back. I'm going to actually end this show right now because I will be back in about 15 minutes. So I'll be back anyways with Bash. Save those questions. We'll be back in 15 minutes. I got to help my daughter with something. She just walked back in the house. I'm going to help her with some stuff. And you guys stay tuned. We'll be back with Bash, and maybe my special guest will hop on the second show because he didn't show up for this one. I'm gonna text him. Didn't go as I planned, but hey, we still had a good show. I will talk to you guys in 15 minutes. Hang tight, stay tuned. We'll be back. Make sure you don't go too far. Appreciate the support. We'll be back in 15 minutes. You guys have a good rest of your night.